I'd like to repeat the thanks to all of you for coming. I'm sorry? Do you have volume control back there? I noticed with Pam there was a little, that's much better, I think. I want to repeat the thanks that Pam conveyed to all of you for coming tonight. Thanks also to the organizations that are sponsoring this event. And I want to double Pam's thanks to the NACI staff, and in particular to Christine Quinio, without whom I have to say this event would not have occurred as it has. So thank you very, very much. Now, we who belong to NACI don't always agree on exactly what social insurance means or what it should mean, but we are united in a shared recognition that isolated individuals cannot, unaided, deal with all of the contingencies that an advanced economy throws at them. That insight is what guided Bob Ball's life work. That is the value that's embodied in the prize that NACI has created in his name. And that is also the value that is embodied in so much of the work that Bob Reischauer has performed over a career that has spanned more than 4 decades. So tonight, NACI honors both the person and that career. You're going to hear from various speakers in person or by video over the next 40 minutes or so about various aspects of Bob's career. But I would like to get things off on the right foot. This is not a roast. Mostly. And in that spirit, I want to assure Bob that I am not going to share with you the conversation that he and I had many years ago about teenage shenanigans that, shall we say, could have derailed his career. Nor am I going to report on the experimental agricultural activities that he and I and the late Ben Oakner once carried out inside the Brookings building. I won't say where inside the Brookings building. I will tell you that Bob has had a hard time trying to figure out what he wanted to do. He earned his doctorate from Columbia University, and then, let's be frank, he demonstrated over many years that he simply could not make up his mind. Soon after getting his degree, he came to Brookings. Then Alice Rivlin was asked to start the Congressional Budget Office as its first director, and she took Bob with her. So he was at CBO, but not for long. He left CBO to help Bill Gorham manage the Urban Institute for a while. Then he came back to Brookings. Then he went back to CBO, back again to Brookings, once again to Urban. I may have left something out of this listing, but you get the pattern. And those of you who are familiar with the DSM-4 may recognize the symptoms. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. One might have inferred something more serious, an inability to form lasting relationships, but his marriage of more than 40 years to Charlotte makes that theory very hard to maintain. But hyperactivity, there's really no doubt about that. He was a member of MedPAC. He served on and now chairs the Harvard Corporation. He is a public trustee of the Social Security system. He serves on advisory boards too numerous to count. He gives talks to almost anyone who will listen, and lots of people want to listen. He has written numerous books and articles. He testifies regularly. He keeps reporters honest and well-informed. I think, given that listing, the ADHD diagnosis seems not just tenable, but inescapable. But it isn't the range and the number of his activities, but the content of his work that explains why the Ball Prize Selection Committee chose Bob Reischauer this year as its honoree. It's for his contributions in a career spanning 4 decades to social insurance and public policy formation, and to fostering and developing the institutions that lead to sound policy. He has written, spoken, advised, earned the respect of both Republicans and Democrats for his solid judgment. He has made friends with people who agree with him and with people who don't. Now, there's one more thing. Those of you who may have been in the position that I'm now in know that it's really nice if you can find some little tidbit about the honoree about which the audience is completely unaware. Tonight, I can go one better. I found a fact about Bob of which even he was unaware, at least until Monday night of this week, when I verified things with him. In my tireless research to prepare these comments, I came across a website named Zog. I'll explain those letters in a moment. Zog reports that Bob Reischauer, the grandson of Presbyterian missionaries on his father's side and of stern Episcopalians on his mother's side, is actually, this came as a surprise to him, is actually an Ashkenazi Jew and part of the sinister and secretive campaign by, and here comes the letters, the Zionist occupation government to dominate Ivy League colleges and universities. Now, this came as a surprise to Bob, as I'm sure it will to Drew Faust, who was also on the list. It's on the internet. It has to be true, therefore. You can look it up. But I ask you, don't leave to look it up just yet. We have a clip from Alice Rivlin. She can't be here. She had some sort of an excuse. She's 80 years old, and she's on a plane to go trekking in the Dolomites. I mean, how ridiculous can you get? So let's have the clip from Alice.
Delighted that NASI has chosen Robert Reischauer for the Bob Ball Award. I can't think of anybody more appropriate to receive this award. I feel like I discovered Bob Reischauer. He was a young scholar at the Brookings Institution in the early 70s. In early 1975, I was asked to set up the new Congressional Budget Office, and I decided I better get somebody really talented to go with me and help me do this. Bob was willing to come with me, and I was really lucky because he was the right person to help me think through what the organization ought to do, who we ought to hire, how we ought to get along with our political foes and our political friends on the Hill. And later, of course, he went on to be a division director, the deputy director, and considerably later in the 1990s to be the director of the CBO. But that early contribution, when we were trying to figure out what to do, it was a very important moment in that institution's history. And we are all lucky that Bob Reischauer was there at that time. Thanks, Bob.
And thanks to Alice for those comments. She described CBO in its founding days. It seems entirely fitting that the next speaker should be the current custodian of that extremely important, well-regarded institution, Doug Elmendorf.